Hello, I'm Christopher Taylor of Sovereign Harmony, and welcome back. I just wanted to give you a brief focus on this solar eclipse in Gemini here on Sunday, May 20th. If you want to get in more depth about this eclipse along with the eclipse coming up on June 4th and the Venus occultation and other things, I have other videos you can see on my channel. There's a link below to a couple of those videos. But today what I want to focus on is tomorrow's solar eclipse, which is on May 20th, and this is what's called an annular eclipse. It's an eclipse where the moon is going to cross over the sun. It's a new moon, in other words, but it'll leave a ring of the sun around the moon, okay? So it's a type of an eclipse that allows for a ring of the sun to still exist. So the moon is just far enough, it's not close enough to completely cover the sun, but just far enough to leave that ring. So anyway, that's what we're going to have in play tomorrow. And what's really great about this eclipse is that if you're in the southwestern US, you may be in the direct path of this. And the last time that a solar eclipse was actually visible anywhere in the US was way back in 1994, so 18 years. I remember I was a freshman in high school that last time. So it's been a long, long time, and so this is a great opportunity to go and see it. I'm actually planning on potentially taking a ride about 40 minutes away just to go see, just to be within the path. I'm in Sacramento, California, and the path is going to go just to the northeast of Sacramento. And if you're interested in knowing where the path is and where you are, etc., the Weather Channel actually has a great interactive map they put together, and I have a link to that right below this YouTube as well. So you can click on their map and you can zoom in, you can figure out where that path is, where you are, and find a town or something nearby if you're close enough to take a little ride and be within that path. You know, it's all up to you if you just want to get that experience of being in the path of a solar eclipse, you know. So from an astronomical perspective, this is a pretty rare event, and so it can be interesting just to go see that. You know, you never know the next time you might get a chance. But astrologically, I want to talk about this new moon as well. So it's a new moon and a solar eclipse, and it occurs at the 0-degree point of Gemini, so the very beginning of the Gemini portion of the zodiac. Gemini is the third sign of the zodiac. It starts with Aries, then it goes to Taurus, and then we get to Gemini. Gemini deals with duality, the spirit and matter, the merger of that. It's the communication between that, the constant communication between spirit and matter. That's really what it comes down to. And so astrologically we have the planet Mercury, which kind of represents, and it's said to rule Gemini, okay? Mercury is this kind of go-between, courier of information. And when it comes to words are one example of communication. Really, words are just an attempt at communicating, and they're never perfect. And there's a reason for that, because there's always different ways to say things. And so Gemini is a very flexible, versatile kind of energy, and so we get that when it comes to words. There's always different ways to say things, and when we hear things slightly different ways, they can have different meanings to us depending on what our internal beliefs are. Okay. It's also interesting to note that Gemini, this third sign, deals with this kind of day-to-day thoughts. Okay, we all have day-to-day thought patterns. Our lives are actually governed more by our day-to-day thought patterns than we can ever think that they are. Okay, and it's just one of those things that if you become conscious of what your thought patterns are, it's really the only way that you can get in control of them, because most of us walk around unconsciously living according to unconscious thought patterns that we created at one time in our lives, probably when we felt afraid or fearful and wanted to protect ourselves. So we made something up, okay, that we believed was true at the time, in which we proved to be true over and over again to ourselves throughout our lives. It was real, it was in front of us. What this eclipse is going to give us an opportunity to do is to recognize what these thought patterns are that we live on a day-to-day basis with. This is what we think is right and wrong, what we think is real and not real. Okay? We all have our own subjective set of guidelines, and we may think that our subjective set of guidelines is in fact representative of some objective set of guidelines which doesn't actually exist. Okay? So this Gemini solar eclipse is about getting in touch with what our subjective set of guidelines are that we live through, which we live our lives. It is the prison that we set up in some cases, okay? We all have these mental constructs. And the irony with Gemini is that it's a very flexible sign. It wants to be free and moving, okay? But it can be its own worst enemy when it creates mental constructs that don't change and flow, when it doesn't change its mind, when its mind is too firm over time, okay? And so anyone with a Gemini sun, someone born, say, between late May and mid-June, you have your sun in Gemini in your natal chart, this is kind of part of the essence of you. This is the idea that there's versatility in there. So whenever there's stagnation, especially with beliefs, this is when we know the Gemini energy is not flowing. But this is true for, we all have Gemini in our chart somewhere. So somewhere in your chart there's a place where we're living according to certain mental constructs that we are now approaching a time where it is time for us to release that, to open up the doors for new ways of thinking, for new truths, new ideas of what is real and not real, what is right and what is wrong, okay? For us at this time. Not what was right or wrong or real for us when we were, 15 years old, but what is right and real for us now, and how that reflects our life now, not living according to old constructs. We often almost romanticize the idea of being stubborn with who we are, and what we think, and that's just how I am. And that's for whatever reason, we almost have a pride associated with that. But really, the flexible mind is that mind that allows growth and that allows us to, experience life as it comes in the moment. Okay, and so we're all going to have this opportunity, astrologically speaking, with this time period to loosen up our old thought patterns. Okay, we all have them, and we all have a chance to loosen them up. So whatever we think is true or real, open up those doors. Let something else be true or real, because by the time we get to the other eclipses, the other eclipse here, June 4th, plus the Venus occultation, and I'll have a whole different video for that. Don't worry, I'm not going to get into the details. But that's all about the truth being infused and pouring in, new truths, new realities pouring in, okay? But we need to make room for that. And that's what this solar eclipse is on Sunday, May 20th. It's about making room for the new truths that now matter for us in this life today, by getting rid of just stale stuff that we need to get rid of, okay? Getting rid of old secrets, getting rid of old lies that we tell us ourselves, that kind of stuff. Cleaning out that kind of mental closet in a way. And if you want more details on how this fits in with the eclipse coming up in June and the Venus occultation, I also posted a link down below this YouTube, along with a link to the Weather Channel map. There's a link to this YouTube that I talk about the May-June eclipses in the Venus occultation. Okay, and a final thing down here, a link down here below is to this man named Joe Dispenza, who talks about the science of changing our minds and how our brains, the physiological aspects of our brains, actually rewire, how the neurons actually detach and reattach when we're in a state of changing our minds. It's a fascinating video. It's like, I forget, like 5 or 7 minutes long. I advocate you watching it. It's interesting. People assume they can't change their minds. They think this is just, I've thought this for 50 years, that's the way it is, and that's what life is, But this is an opportunity to do this energetically, like I said, and this video really explains how the science works, how it is possible. Our thoughts and our emotions are very interlinked, and when we put a feeling to our thoughts, that imprints it stronger, okay? And the Institute of Heart Math has done a lot of research on how the heart actually governs the brain more so than the other way around. But what Joe Dispenza talks about here specifically is within the brain framework, what's going on within the brain. So this is our opportunity then to feel differently about different aspects of the world, feel differently about different parts of our lives to help us facilitate this unwiring aspect of our brains so we can rewire when the new information comes through here in the next several months, okay? So take a look at that to get a sense of the science behind this. The final thing that I want to mention here with regards to this solar eclipse, this is the most controversial part, on a more collective level. We'll save the controversy for just a minute here, but collectively speaking, this matters as well. So this is the period of potential disclosure of some kind of information, okay? Because we're talking about secrets and truths and things that are breaking up. So any beliefs, you see me wearing this shirt here at the United States of America, there's certain beliefs that are expected to be shared amongst Americans, for example. So for example, there could be a sense of, I always thought America was doing this, we're doing that, what? Those kinds of eye-opening epiphanies on a collective level. And so this can happen anywhere. That's just one example. But the idea that we get some real truths have an opportunity to come through, but we have to make way for them. Again, same thing as the personal level, but on a collective level. Where this kind of rings true more controversially is, the way I see it, if you look at the path of this eclipse, you look at that link to the weather channel and follow that path. The path of this eclipse is in a very precarious area of the American Southwest. It goes over Mount Shasta, goes over Area 51 in southern Nevada, just north of Vegas, and it goes over the Grand Canyon, and it goes over Roswell, New Mexico. Okay, and so right away, that might, if you're into conspiracy theories when it comes to extraterrestrials and whatnot, these areas, when it comes to military cover-ups of extraterrestrials and sacred sites dealing with extraterrestrials, these are some of the key areas. Okay, and to go along with that, this eclipse, not only is it, the Earth and then the Moon in front of the Sun, so the Sun is behind the Moon, but behind the Sun of our solar system is actually, in this particular eclipse, not always the case, but in this particular eclipse, is what's known as the Pleiades or Pleiades star system. Okay. Pleiades star system, what's the big diff? Well, all ancient cultures, from the Hopi to the Mayans to the Egyptians, etc., most of these ancient cultures believe that not only are there extraterrestrials that visit Earth from this star system, but that we come from this star system. Okay? I'm going to sit on the neutral bench here and say I don't know one way or the other, but I want to put that out there. And this comes to the whole idea of belief. What is true? What is real? Okay? Could this time period be, on a collective level, with the path of this eclipse, going over those areas, and the theme of this eclipse being letting go of old truths and old realities to make way for new realities, could it be the disclosure, the military disclosure, of extraterrestrial visits? I couldn't imagine a more, logically speaking, I can't imagine a more perfect setup. Looking at the, where the eclipse is, what the theme is, where it lies in the zodiac and everything. It has disclosure of information and the releasing of old realities, all wrapped up in it. And so, I just want to throw that out there, something to think about. Okay, so if there's a major disclosure happening over the next couple of months, you heard it here first. But anyway, again, you can open your mind to that or close your mind to that. It's up to you. But again, on a personal level, my advice to you for this eclipse: get in touch with those old mantras, those daily living mantras, those daily beliefs that, in terms of how you see the world, what goggles you put on to see the world. And maybe this has worked for you for decades, but does it still work for you? Ask yourself the question: does this belief about how my house is supposed to run, about how a job is supposed to be, about how safety is supposed to look, about how love is supposed to look, for example, about how my family is supposed to look, does this still work for me? Is there room for flexibility? Because Gemini, that's the magic of Gemini, the flexibility. And that's the gift here, that's the opportunity here, to let go of the old, to make room for the new. So, I'll leave you with that. And so, again, I'm Christopher Taylor, Sovereign Harmony. Contact me through sovereignharmony.com or sovereignharmony.biz. And I will see you next time. Thanks a lot, and hopefully you can enjoy this eclipse. Bye-bye.